Hello, everybody at St. Demetrios and the Orthodox community there in Fort Worth. This is Nico Petrogeorge, the Executive Director of Orthodox Christian Prison Ministry, and I'm so excited that you're taking a few moments this evening to think about some of the members of your church who are living their lives behind bars. You may think to yourself, I didn't know we had members of our church living behind bars, but in reality, there are many hundreds of Orthodox Christians and inquirers there in Texas, and even right there in Fort Worth at FMC, Fort Worth, a federal prison facility there. There are Orthodox Christians who are there, and if they're not part of your community, then they're part of no one's community. They are. And so we need to remember them. There's more than 1.9 million people in the U.S. who are living their lives behind bars. And so we need to reach out to them. We need to offer them the love of Christ. And the reality is, though, that doing this is not always easy. There are a lot of physical barriers and administrative barriers to reaching out to people who are in prison. And so this is why our bishops, our hierarchs, have created an organization dedicated to and being specialized in this particular kind of ministry, and that's Orthodox Christian Prison Ministry. And so by supporting us, you're supporting us to have case managers who ensure that all of these who we minister to have access to the fullness of the church, have access to the sacraments, have access to clergy. You are providing catechism for people. By supporting us, you're making sure that we're able to provide Bibles and other books and things to people so that they can become educated in the faith. And every month we're bringing new people into the faith through Orthodox Christian Prison Ministry. So I hope that you can join me in praying for and supporting the sacred ministry, and by getting involved, I think that you may find you yourself that even by thinking about it, that your heart becomes a little bit more tender and more forgiving. We may think sometimes that the Lord told us to visit those who are in prison because we can do some good for the people who are there, but it's not so simple. The Lord said, I was in prison and you came to me. The Lord is already there. We go into the prison to encounter him, and in doing so, we ourselves are changed. I just left a state prison where I was able to be there for a baptism of somebody who just came into our church community, and I can tell you I left energized. It's a sacred encounter to go there and to encounter Christ in the prison. It gives me energy to carry on, and I pray that this evening that you're able to experience just a little bit of the grace and the fullness of life that this ministry provides. Thank you all so much, and the Lord's blessings on you.
The work of OCPM is extremely important, especially in the United States. We have one of the highest rates of incarceration.
We're building this organization around people who do this prison ministry that is operating at a next level in terms of the accountability that we have for ourselves in how we steward the support that is given to us through our donors, through the hierarchs, through the church.
From the beginning, when we set up OCPM, we set it up to have the highest of standards. People should feel confident in supporting OCPM because now we're starting to really work hard on developing metrics to measure how successful we are. If we create a program, we want to be able to know that it really does work and ultimately achieve results in the lives of not only those who are incarcerated, but their families.
Orthodox Christian Prison Ministry is an agency of the Assembly of Bishops of the United States. We serve as the representatives of the bishops of not just one jurisdiction, but of all of Orthodoxy in America.
Our staff is equipped and ready to help at any time.
Part of what took place in the Supermax prison there was that they would bring gang leaders from all the various prison gangs. One of the leaders of a certain gang, he came into our prison, and I would make my rounds every week seeing all the men that were there, and he would stand there and stare at me and never say a word to me. He would just literally just stare at me. And I would always greet him and give him like a newsletter or something and just let him know that I cared about him. I'd call him by name, and he would never say a word. And this went on month after month for 2 years. He never said a word. All of a sudden, one day, after 2 years, I'm at his cell front, and he looks at me and he goes, chaplain, can you send me something about your faith that I can read? I said, absolutely. So that started him on that journey to Orthodoxy. And before his baptism into the faith, I said, so what was going on? I said, for 2 years, you wouldn't talk to me. And he said, I was just checking you out. I said, for 2 years? And he said, 2 years is nothing. Time doesn't mean anything in this place. We just want to see if what we're hearing from you is the same as who you are. And he said, I would listen as you made rounds on my range, you know, and I would hear you a couple cells down and some guy would be screaming and cussing at you and going off on you. And he said, I would always listen for your response. And he said, your response was always soft and kind. I finally decided after 2 years, whatever you had, I wanted in my life.
My journey into the church was a very rocky road. It started out me going to jail. When I found myself in jail without family, without friends, without anyone to lean on, I was tired of feeling alone. Coming from where I've come from, one of the struggles that I have is wondering what friends are actually true friends. So I started wanting something else to reach out to. I was getting to a point to where I was about ready to give up on religion altogether because I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't have a good guide. I didn't have any kind of guide. Being a history buff, I thought, well, let me see if I can find the beginnings of some of these religions and see if any of them have something that's the same all the way throughout. I had my mom mail me up the New Testament Orthodox Bible, and in that is a address for OCPM out in California. So I wrote that address. I got a response back from a guy named Father Dwayne. I was starting to get the feeling of caring about their life. And I couldn't explain that. I didn't know where it came from and how it happened. But I was starting to want their approval more than anyone else's approval. I wanted to hear from them more than I wanted to hear from my own family. I didn't know how it was happening. I didn't know why it was happening. Because I didn't feel like I had done anything in this life worthy of that kind of attention. By the time I got out, what it had done was created a love for God and for the Orthodox Church that was beyond measurable, to the point where I was willing to give up everything that this world could offer just for the opportunity to be able to go to church. And that's where I was at when I got out. By the time I got to the church, I had changed so much that I could see the goodness in humanity. I could see the goodness in the world. I could see the goodness in just nature, and I wanted more of it. If my cup was overflowing, I felt like it was empty. However much I had, I did not feel like I had enough. I talked with Father Jeremy. I pretty much broke down in tears in front of them, and I said, I want to be a member of this church. I want to be a member of God's church.